Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stu here from Spain Speaks with an update video today. Today we'll talk about a bit of the feedback that we've got on the last few videos, some of the comments from viewers, some of their thoughts. I'll discuss some of those things today with the beach in the background. Another overcast day here today. It seems that all of the videos that I'm recording at the moment are in overcast conditions. The weather here is not the best, as you can see. That is, if you like sun. If you like sun, this is not one of the best parts of the world to be in, but the temperature is cool. It's about 20 degrees every day. We don't get those heat waves that you get in places like Madrid or other places in Spain where the temperature can be very, very hot. Here the weather is always a standard 20, 21, 22, 23 degrees. Doesn't really get above that. And of course it's windy every day, and for the last few weeks, as we have seen, a bit overcast. The sun does come out in the afternoon, so it's a bit better then. But you can see people down here on the beach obviously desperate to go to the beach, and they don't care what the weather is like. But that's the temperature in this part of the world. And had somebody criticize this place, say that they were a bit sick of it, that it's a bit of an ugly place. It's not the prettiest part of the world, but I like it, and that's the most important thing. As I said in the video a few weeks ago, there are more picturesque parts of the world, especially here on the Atlantic coast, and this is not one of the most attractive places, but it's not too bad, and as I said, it is cool. Now, I made a comment in yesterday's video about homeschooling and another comment about living off the grid in a country like Spain. And I said that it's a very difficult thing to do, that is, living off the grid, as they say. Homeschooling, apparently, somebody pointed out that it is not illegal, but it's one of those things that is not very common in Spain. In fact, in the whole time that I've been living in the country, in the last 10 years with my son, I have not met a single person where I live who homeschools their child. Of course, that changed with the coronavirus. Children were forced to stay at home, homeschooling if you like, but of course everything was controlled by the school that they were going to, and not homeschooling per se, where parents educate children in line with some type of curriculum, of course, and then of course they get their academic achievements recognized. But in Spain, that is very, very hard to do. Apparently there's some type of legal void. It's not illegal, but it's not really legal either, and apparently very, very difficult to get qualifications recognized to do exams and all of those type of things which are associated to the traditional school system. So that's basically where homeschooling is at in Spain. And as far as living off the grid goes, again, don't know too many people doing that. Of course, there are places in Spain that are maybe a bit more remote than others, but that concept where you can go into the wild, but that concept that you can go to a place and live freely, really very, very difficult to do in Spain. Because of course, to live in Spain, you have to have some type of residence document if you're a foreigner. Also, if you are Spanish, you have a DNI or an identity card that you get from birth. And of course, the authorities know exactly who you are because of the number on that card. And of course, part of the condition for my residence in Spain is that I have to register with my local council, do the padrón, as they say. So not easy to live off the grid in Spain, or at least I don't think it is. But hey, if there's anybody out there who is living off the grid, let me know. And another one of the reasons why it is difficult to live off the grid, because it's even very hard to become self-sufficient from an electricity point of view. Up until only recently could you put in solar panels and get away from those big electrical companies in Spain, because they have a very tight grip on people. And I think it was even law that even if you had solar energy and were virtually self-sufficient from an energy point of view, you still had to pay one of these big electrical companies. And I think in Spain that was known as the impuesto al sol, where they made it very, very difficult to look for alternative energy sources like the sun. But apparently now that has changed, and it is easier to get electricity from another source and not depend on one of these big electric companies in Spain. Now, I also had a surprising comment yesterday from somebody saying that Spain is not Western Europe, that Spain is Southern Europe and not actually Western Europe. Now, I don't actually know what we would classify as Western Europe. All I know is that where I am today, obviously Portugal, is very far west. And of course, if you go to a place like Galicia, you are also very far west compared to other places in Europe. So that technically would mean that it is Western Europe, because it is Europe and it is far west. So again, not really sure about comments like that, but where I am today, there's not a lot of places further west than this one. So Spain and Portugal, definitely, in my opinion, Western Europe. And a lot of feedback the other day because of the fact that I didn't want to reveal where I was. I said that somebody complained about me promoting these countries, promoting Spain and promoting Portugal. They said that I was encouraging people to come to these countries and steal jobs from the locals. What a load of rubbish. One of the first things I ever say in my videos is don't come to Spain or Portugal and look for a job. Come to these countries if you are retired. Come to these countries if somebody offers you a job. Come to these countries if you can work remotely, but don't come to these countries and expect to find a good job, in my opinion. For example, the minimum salary in Spain, about €1,000 a month. In Portugal, it's about 650 euros a month in your hand. And if you can live on that type of salary here, good luck to you. And you probably will be taking a job away from somebody if you get a salary like that. But as I say, come to these countries to enjoy them, but don't come to these countries if you want to find your dream job. Some people do, of course, but the majority don't, because they don't exist and the market is very, very difficult to get into. Another person said that it's almost like a protectionist racket, and basically that's what it is. There are a group of people that want to protect their jobs, protect their contracts, protect their salaries, and that comes at a cost for a lot of other people. I think it's about 30% of the population have good contracts, 70% don't. Don't quote me on those figures, of course, and that 30% don't want any change. And that's one of the reasons that unemployment is so high, so many illegal contracts around the place, so many black economy jobs, and it is a real problem in Spain, and I imagine that it is a problem in this country here as well. And it means that a lot of people, as we said, just have to leave the country. They have to go and live in more serious countries from a job market point of view, and when they get a bit of experience under their belt, maybe speak another language, they can come back. But that's also one of the problems when you do videos like these, that a lot of people don't listen carefully to what you say. Maybe they only look at the title, maybe they only look at a small part of the video and they jump to conclusions. How many times do I see in the comment section people that just haven't understood what I said, people going off on a completely different tangent, and it gets a bit frustrating, to tell you the truth. And there's been a few comments in recent times about my name, whether it's STU, whether it's STEW, whether I like to be called Stu, STU, or STEW. Well, my name is Stuart and it is spelled S-T-U-A-R-T. There is another way to spell the name, of course, with an E-W, but I go for the U version, and it can be a bit complicated in Spain with that name. A lot of people don't know how it's spelled, of course. Spanish people love to put an E on the front of my name. They call me Stuart. Sometimes they end the word also with a D, so quite complicated. And my surname begins with W, which for Spanish people is also a very difficult letter, considering that it doesn't exist in the Spanish language and people basically can't pronounce it. I have a lot of people pronouncing my surname with a B, and the W sound very difficult for Spanish people to pronounce. And of course the name Stuart doesn't exist in Spanish. There's no translation for it. I suppose the closest translation would be Estuardo, but I've never met anybody with that name. That's one of the reasons why we decided to call my son David, or David. It's one of those names that can go into both languages, and I do recommend that if you're going to have children in a country like Spain, that you take that into consideration. Even names like Brian, I've got a friend called Brian, and of course people in Spain call him Brian. Difficult name to pronounce. His son's name is Glenn. People have trouble with that name, of course, when they meet him for the first time, because these are not common names in Spain. You tend to find that Spanish people all have the same names, whether it's Sergio, ladies called Ana, Maria, very popular name, Roberto, for example, Jesus, a popular name, Mario is a popular name. I would say there's not a lot of variation when it comes to Spanish names. Of course, throw in a foreign name and it can really complicate things, especially when you're filling out forms. And another thing that's quite difficult for Spanish people to get their head around is the fact that we don't have two surnames, and that middle name that I have is very, very complicated also to explain to a lot of people. They just don't understand the concept. They've only ever seen the one system, the majority of people, the two surname system. They take a surname from their father, surname from their mother, put them together, and away you go. The middle name concept doesn't exist, so as I said, quite complicated in Spain for me from a name point of view. And finally, just to finish off, I said yesterday in the title that Spain is too risky for some people to visit at the moment. Obviously, with all of these these quarantine rules and regulations being put on people. Every day a different country joins that list. Denmark yesterday, and we don't know when countries are going to review those quarantine rules. But the health situation is a bit complicated at the moment. We saw yesterday that place near Burgos being locked down for another week. So a lot of bad press for Spain at the moment, unfortunately, and I don't know when the situation is going to change. August is a complicated month, a lot of people on holidays. The realities are not really going to be known until September when people start to come back, so we'll see. Now, quick note, there's going to be no update video tomorrow. There's something that I have to do tomorrow, so I don't think I'm going to be able to get a video out. Maybe I can do some type of short video, but I'm not sure yet, so I might have to postpone that. But I will try to release another type of video, so stay tuned for that. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions or comments, please leave them in the section below. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. Debate the situation out, and I'll see you in the next video. Hasta luego.